Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Flyover Live. We're coming to you from Liberty Street on Mass Ave in downtown Indianapolis. Let's get started. Thank you all for joining us for this week's episode of Flyover Live, a weekly podcast talking about the latest sports, entertainment, and political news from the eyes of three Midwestern millennials. I'm your host, Cliff Dennis, and I'm joined here by Brent Pierce.
Cheers.
And Mark Barry.
Hi.
Before we get started, again, I'd like to remind everybody to check us out on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. We're at Flyover Live, all one word, on Instagram and Twitter. And then on Facebook at facebook.com/flyoverlive. So this week we are riding solo, no guests. So
it's a power trio.
It is. I mean, between the three of us, I think we can hold our own.
Can make this happen.
We'll see. We're gonna find out very shortly if that's true.
I know. We've done it once before. I think we can handle it. And I guess to start off, anything you guys do interesting this week, Brent? This weekend?
Oh, goodness, this weekend. Actually, nothing too crazy. Watched my Hoosiers lose to Penn State.
Yeah.
Absent, of course, the starting QB and running back. So there's a silver lining there. When they get healthy, maybe they come back and beat Rutgers this weekend for homecoming. But, man,
that's
story
right. It
of
is
the
homecoming
week.
this weekend.
Yeah, in Bloomington.
All the
Rutgers
Hoosiers
as well.
out there.
You guys gonna go?
Go down to IU Bloomington for homecoming.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that I'll be going down there.
Oh yeah, that sounds great. You wanna go? No, I don't.
We got a little removed from that.
I don't know that I can handle it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, a little much. No, hero of the weekend for me, which was a Thursday night game, but Hasselbeck. Basically rescuing the Colts season single-handedly.
Last Thursday night football,
beating
Colts.
Houston. Just a marvelous performance. But also I saw Andrew Luck this weekend.
That's right.
Chatham Tap.
I was wondering if our friend of the show Cam was lying in his post about that.
Yeah, no.
So he showed up at Chatham Tap
Andrew was
for
there
the
with
USA.
This
soccer game.
Mexico match. Yeah,
this is an exclusive breaking news. How did he look? How was the shoulder?
He looked. The beard was fantastic.
Yeah,
nice.
His fiance was gorgeous.
So his shoulder was good enough to lift beers to the mouth.
To be honest with you,
which arm did he use to eat his sandwich or lift his beverages?
He was drinking beers with his right arm.
All right, that's a good sign.
And the first USA goal, which was a corner in from Bradley to a header, he was the first one up.
Both arms.
Both arms.
Wow.
Nice.
All
So
right.
what we're saying is he's healthy.
So
He's ready to
holler
play
at Adam
against
Schefter,
the Patriots, right? So
ESPN right now.
No, Costanzo was there as well with him.
Really?
Costanzo, it was definitely I think two of the Colts linemen and Luck were there watching the match, so it was neat. And then kind of a poor outcome for the U.S.
Went down 3-2 to Mexico.
Right.
It was a late goal, right?
Extra time,
win.
late goal.
Yeah.
Still fun to watch. Though.
Yeah. Mark, anything?
No, a lot of baseball.
That's true. It is MLB Playoffs time, which is as good a time as any to talk about the playoffs.
When I say that I literally sat on the couch from 12:30 to 12:30 on Friday, I'm not using literally incorrectly. That's where I was the entire 12 hours.
Can I say that I'm jealous, literally? That sounds awesome. Are you as far as you're a fan in general, but I'm a Reds guy just by nature, but playoff baseball at Wrigley Field. It's I'm not a Cubs guy. That's pretty awesome, though, right?
It's pretty good.
I've heard it's an okay time.
They look good last night, that's for sure.
Yeah, they did. Did they break a record for home runs?
Hit a lot of home runs.
6, I think.
A lot of home runs.
6 home runs. So, hey, baseball for me is just tough to follow given how many games there are.
It's long,
total. But I'll tell you, Cardinals Cubs in the play that has to be epic, right? So
not much of a better rivalry between two teams. I mean, I know you've got
Historically,
Yankees, Red
yeah.
Sox, but I think just as long probably that they've been playing each other, something like 110 years or so.
Yeah, for some reason, and I don't know what it is, Yankee Red Sox games take forever. Like baseball games are long normally, but those games you're not finishing a Yankees Red Sox game even when it doesn't matter, like in under 4 hours, and it's just hard to watch.
Right.
Like the Cubs are exciting at least, and it's kind of, I mean, I don't like the Cardinals really by any stretch, but it's tough for them because they had the best record in all of baseball.
Yeah.
You know, did really well for 162 games and then have to face the team with third best record in the first round.
Yeah.
Tough draw.
Right. And what got me was the idea of the Cubs playing the Pirates.
Pirates had the second best record.
That's what I'm saying. Like that one game playoff for the entry into the, I don't quite understand how in the entire MLB, two of your top three teams, there's one game that decides their entrance into playoffs.
Sure. How long have they been doing that?
I think this is the third year for the one game playoff. There were people talking about there were too many wild card teams winning the World Series, I guess, and so everybody said, "Oh, it's too random. Once it gets to the playoffs, let's make the wild card teams earn it more." And then last year, a wild card team won after winning the play-in game, the Giants.
Yeah.
So I mean, and they played the
So
other
defeated their original purpose.
They played
of
the other wild card team, the Royals. So I mean, it's just, the playoffs are a crapshoot no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess as many games you play the entire year, like, I guess it makes sense to do a one-game playoff. But like, if I'm, which I'm not, a Pirates fan, like that would. You want that those records on the line there for at least a series of some sort, but
they've been in that one game playoff 3 years in a row since the inception of the one game playoff.
Really?
The Pirates have been in every one of them.
Oh God!
Wow.
Well, at least is the time that we're doing the show. We've got Cubs leading 2-1 over the Cardinals, as we've been talking about. Dodgers losing to the Mets at the moment, 2-1. They play tomorrow, I believe.
I thought you were reading like live scores. I was like, I don't think those games have started yet.
No.
This is some Gray's Sports Almanac stuff going on.
Oh, Back to the Future references. Toronto, Texas tied at 2-2. These are all series, not score, not box scores. And then Houston and Kansas City 2-2. Who are you picking? Anybody, Mark? Are you going to do some Gray Sports Almanac?
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like
it doesn't. So why not give it a shot?
Mark would be the team expert as far
I would
as
think
baseball
so.
goes.
Just for
sure.
fun, I'm gonna say the Cubs are gonna clinch tonight, and the Dodgers are going to win to send it back to LA for Game 5. And Toronto and Kansas City move on to the ALCS.
Well done.
We'll see next.
We'll see
next
all on
week.
record. So
It is.
We'll see
And that
next
wasn't
week.
hard. Just acquiesce. But as far as, Cubs 2015, Back to the Future Part 2, winning the World Series, do you think that's possible?
It's very possible. They're really good.
Yeah, I was going to say,
They
when
are
you're
good.
talking about, as long of a season as baseball has, do you think this sport more than any other is based on who is hot at the end of the season going into the playoffs?
It has been the last few years, that's for
Yeah.
sure. I think it does the best at making sure the best teams get in at the end of the season, just because of how long the season is, and like a third of the teams make the playoffs, whereas in the NBA, like half the teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's not the best team doesn't always win baseball. That's for sure.
yeah.
The other thing that we've got coming up this weekend, speaking of Colts before, is the Colts-Patriots game. I don't know how you all feel about that, but I'm not looking looking forward to the outcome of that game. I know
I would
everybody's.
feel about it.
I drove here, on the radio, and there's very optimistic Colts fans on the radio right now that I don't necessarily agree
aren't
with.
we always? Yeah. I would say there's like two ways to look at it. The first one is, dude, highly anticipated, deflate gate, with Brady, of course, getting to play. All signs point to Luck being back, and healthy. So it'll be a media extravaganza, surrounding this game. Ratings galore. But if you want to just forget about all that for a second, the Patriots right now, I mean, they've got to be, and I'm a Colts fan, 2 touchdown favorites in this game. They're playing at a very high level this early in the year. The Colts, and God bless Hasselbeck, to be honest, the hero of the year so far. But the Colts are nowhere near the level of play that the Patriots are at right now. So, I wouldn't put it past the Colts to give them a game.
Sure.
But if you're just basing this game off of the previous, 4 or 5 weeks.
They're coming for Brady. That's what that siren is in the background.
Take him in. Yeah, no, as optimistic as I would like to be, some realism does set in, and it doesn't look good for the Colts.
Yeah, and that siren, that I think that's probably the only way the Colts are going to win is if Brady comes to town and gets in a little trouble and isn't able to play.
Yeah, that or injured on the first play.
You might be surprised to learn, as I was, to just check that the Patriots are only 8-point favorites.
I was trying to check that as we were discussing this.
Seems low.
Yeah,
that
I feel like that
I'm gonna place a bet on that. You know what I mean?
That number's going to move, I think, between... If I'm going to go out... If Mark went on a limb for MLB playoffs, I'm going to go on a limb and say that number is definitely moving from
if I'm being conservative,
to...
I would say 10-point favorite. I mean, but just based on their firepower right now and the Colts' lack thereof, you're talking about 2 touchdowns.
I would say worst case scenario, we find out that the Colts just beat 3 bad teams in a row, which is fine because those teams are in the division, and that's great. You're going to get to play them twice, essentially 2 more times.
Yep.
But we find out that they beat 3 bad teams in a row, and New England is still pretty pissed about the Deflategate stuff, and they score 60, which you never know.
Does it work both ways though? Like, do you feel like the Colts locker room is also pissed about, like, not just getting trounced in the playoffs last year, but also, like, there has to be some sentiment in the locker room or in the league writ large that Brady got off. Brady was given a break because of whatever circumstances. So I don't think, that it's just limited to the Patriots being ticked about Deflategate. Brady will use that to his advantage. He always does.
Right.
At the same time, like, don't you want to come out and prove that, when given a level playing field, equal circumstances, that you come out and you play them better than you did in the playoffs?
Well,
yeah, well, I mean, I'd imagine that there's definitely some fire in the belly for this game. It's just whether that raises everybody's performance enough to stop.
Well, we all have our ceilings,
like,
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I would imagine the Colts have been upset after the last several Patriots games, and it hasn't seemed to matter. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be great.
The context is different.
There've been some bad Sunday night games in a row, or not real fun Sunday night games in a row. So it'd be great if it's a fun game, but we'll see.
Yeah,
agreed. I'm gonna watch and wear my Andrew Luck jersey, but I don't. If I'm being realistic, I just don't think at this point, and we're still figuring things out. We could go on a lot about why we still are, but
I'm just glad that we're breaking news again. That Andrew Luck celebrated with both arms over the weekend. Yeah. Like that's a big story. Our correspondent
drank
Brent Pearson
beer solely with his right arm, and was the first one off his chair when the USA scored the first goal. And
what a patriot!
Right? Whoa, easy. No, that's not cool.
Well, if I do stay up late enough to watch that game, I'll definitely be wearing my Jeff Saturday jersey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's who I own. That's who
I love me some Jeff Saturday, man.
Yeah, I know.
Colt legend.
You gonna wear his Colts or Green Bay jersey?
obviously the Colts jersey.
Okay.
In Cliff's mind, the Green Bay thing didn't happen.
Yeah, no,
was
it
gonna
never
say.
happened in my mind. In my mind, Jeff Saturday and I
Well,
are
it did
best
happen,
friends,
but-
and I
Yeah.
wear his jersey out.
You go on picnics.
We go out on picnics together.
Sometimes you toss the football around.
Did you
Yeah.
guys see that?
Usually it
Freeney-
hits me in the face.
Gross. Did you guys see Freeney today signed with the Cardinals?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, a 1-year contract with the
Really?
Cards. So
Interesting.
That's
I
cool.
wouldn't
Good for
think
him.
that Arians would take a risk on an injured guy. So he must be like healthy enough to sign with a good team. So I like Dwight. I hope he does well.
You guys are on a first name basis.
Me and Dwight are pretty
Yeah.
close.
You win at Dwight.
Dwight.
A lot of emphasis on the first syllable there.
Dwight. But no, like those guys that the kind of ex-Colts, the alum, the veterans, like
Yeah.
you want to see them do well.
For sure.
So, and Arizona right now is kicking butt.
Really good,
So
yeah.
it's a good squad to be on, I think.
Other football news, though, in college, I guess it was it today that Steve Spurrier announced that he's retiring?
Oh yeah, it was last night.
That's pretty much a win all around from my perspective. I can't imagine hating another human being more than Steve Spurrier. So I'm pretty happy to see him out the door.
Hey, another human being more than Spurrier? Where'd this come
Let me
from?
explain.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not a Spurrier fan, but that's
No, I'm a
What's the backstory
I'm a
here?
Tennessee Volunteers fan, and Steve Spurrier is just the devil. I mean, I don't know. It's just
well, the devil must be
deep-seated-
a pretty good college football coach. 'Cause, yeah.
It was interesting reading things about that. Like it seemed to come out of the blue, but I mean he's an older guy, so
Yeah.
I could see where he'd want to just kind of hang out for.
I
a
did
little bit.
learn some things about Steve Spurrier.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't realize he won a Heisman and was a quarterback, and yeah, that was all news to me.
I saw something about all his like more quotable moments over the years, and I don't remember a lot of them, but it sounds like he just kind of just took shots at everybody and was
Yeah.
just funny, like great about it.
Apparently,
And I don't
like
know,
he was a
good character.
an amateur stand-up comedian, from what I understood. Like his press conferences were hilarious. But what I did see, the stat earlier on today was that between Florida and South Carolina, like the season before he took over, and then into his tenure at both those places, 11 win seasons. There was 0-0 previously at both schools. And then during his time there, 9 at Florida and 3 at South Carolina. So definitely had a knack
He knows
for
what he's doing.
turning programs
Yeah.
around.
Right.
Yeah. So,
I don't know.
I'm not an SEC guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Big Ten guy, but, as I guess as a Tennessee.
As a Vols fan, yeah. I mean, what's funny though is that I never had a big hatred for Bobby Bowden. It was always just Spurrier.
That wasn't the same. That wasn't in the same conference.
Bowden?
There was a bigger rivalry with Florida and
That's
Tennessee
true,
than.
but, yeah.
Well, and a lot of when I read the
Florida State
article
or
about his
Florida?
quotables, a lot of them were directed at Tennessee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I imagine didn't help your fondness of
No,
the old ball
it did
coach.
not.
Have you gone
Did
to a
not.
game this year yet? Down
Of-
at
a Vols
Tennessee?
game?
Yeah.
I've really only been to a couple, and it was when I was little. But it was the most amazing
My-
experience. Have you been to a game?
No, my mother-in-law's fiance is a Tennessee guy, and so are his kids, and they have like season tickets, and apparently like 105,000
Oh yeah.
like routinely packed that place. And to be honest with you, from
It
my
is massive.
from my Midwestern perspective, going back to the thesis of the show here, like that, I always thought, all right, Michigan, Ohio State,
Right.
You got your
Penn State, it's a
but
big
like
one.
105,
Yeah, Penn State
ish
does 100
thousand.
a lot. Yeah.
That always blew my mind. That like, and I was like, UT,
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, but no, 105 plus thousand are
Even-
there regularly.
Yeah.
That
Even when they're not playing.
blew
well.
my mind when he had said that, because that just didn't compute with me. But because
Does
to
not
be honest,
compute.
and with all fairness, like they haven't won a national title in a long time.
Yeah, 98.
It's T. Martin.
Yeah.
Good old T. Martin. Yep.
Right. So, they
They needed Peyton to leave before they could win.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Right, but no. I mean, like Knoxville's not it's a college town. Not a
Oh
very big-
yeah, it's fun. It's a fun city.
Yeah, but no, it's pretty awesome that it's that big of a stadium and following and all that. I had no idea.
Yeah, and they had a big upset this weekend over Georgia. So, go Vols. Anyway,
Anywho, yeah.
no big deal. Drop the mic. Mark sent me this article that I wanted to bring up for us to discuss, and this gentleman from the LA Times, Chris Erskine. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's definitely not a millennial. The title of the article is "Millennials, you literally cannot call yourselves adults until you take this pledge." And now that I read that headline, he's already going to one of his pledges. But it's basically a list of 46 points of pledges that millennials should take before we consider ourselves adults.
I'll be honest. When I sent that to you, it was more like based on the headline and first couple paragraphs. Did you say 46 points?
Oh yeah, he goes. I mean, I'm obviously not reading all of them. A choice few, but I do want to give you a couple.
If I can pause real quick, though.
Sure.
How
Get in there.
How boomer
Get in
is
there.
it to say you can't be an adult until you passed all these?
And yeah, just
how
judging by the
paternal
picture,
is-
this gentleman is definitely a boomer. Yeah. So
Right.
anyway, just a few of them. Just once, I will try. So these are from the first person. So these are things that obviously that I need.
And we're going to be
to
taking this
pledge.
pledge like at the end of the show, right?
Yeah, I'm taking the pledge right now.
Okay,
Hand
cool.
to the heart.
Gotcha.
Right hand
There you
over
go.
the heart. Just once, I will try driving without texting. Just once, I will try eating without texting. Each year, I will pen at least one thank you note using what's left of my cursive writing skills.
Okay, you can stop
wait,
actually
I can
right
stop-
there.
I can stop
like
right there.
that's
No, keep going. This is awesome.
But like how derogatory and paternalistic,
Condescending.
Yeah.
There's at least, he repeats himself at least 4 or 5 times, the theme of which, of at least 4 or 5 of these is, I'm not entitled to anything and nothing is beneath me.
Guys,
Those are 4 or 5 of these.
I don't know if this is the
summed
right
into
time
one.
to tell you I'm not an adult. I didn't hit all those first 3.
I will vote always, because we're obviously the only generation that has folks that don't vote.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, wasn't the voter turnout 100% before the millennial generation?
Yeah, before we were born, right? Voter turnout was 100%.
Yeah. There wasn't one boomer who didn't vote in his entire.
This one I love. I will save 10% of everything I earn.
All right. Cool, man.
Because
Yeah,
boomers
no,
have the best retirement.
I would venture to
package
say
going.
that the article was well received by one person, him,
Yeah.
right? But by the author of it. That's not. What was the outlet again?
This was the LA Times.
Oh, the
Yeah.
LA Times.
This one seems funny, just funny to me. I won't give only gift cards for Christmas. That sounds like he personally.
This guy sounds like just bitter, jaded by his own experience.
That guy's gotten a lot of gift cards
Yeah,
for Christmas
right?
and is like, seriously, put some
I mean,
thought
I
into
like
my
Amazon, dude, but what the hell? What's the gift card for? Yeah.
But
Just
what
thoughtless.
gift. Just put cash.
Just
thoughtless.
he just wants cash.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was a bit of a backlash, as you might imagine, because I think he posted it to Twitter with like a hashtag millennial pledge that obviously got overtaken by everybody talking crap about his.
Which it might have
so-
been like an
so he doesn't
ingenious
understand.
way of like getting some play, to be
So he
honest.
doesn't understand Twitter
Let's
either.
insult like the entire social media generation,
Right.
And then see what they do about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously, we took full advantage of that. So there were some great responses that I came across when I was
Yeah.
doing some research on this guy. So one of them was in response a boomer pledge, and so the boomer pledge was, I won't ruin the environment, I won't ruin the economy, and I won't demand that you act grateful for the hell that we've made.
Yeah.
That was a nice response.
Well, that
I
goes
like
back
that
to
one.
a Time magazine article that you had brought up like a few shows ago, which
Yeah.
was, the cover story was how like the me generation, millennials or whatever, and then there was a backlash, which was we are dealing with the problems that boomers created,
Right,
right? Like we're saddled with debt, the economy had tanked. You know, like everything that basically they have built has destroyed the environment. So, yeah, I mean, listen, you can push back. There's blame to go around, but for a guy like that to talk down paternalistically to millennials
is almost kind of just represent everything now. Like it's always us versus them, whether it's generational, whether it's political. Like it doesn't just make a whole lot of sense. Like it's not, if you make so many divisions within one society, it doesn't make sense that things will change.
I wouldn't put it past one of us 20, 30 years from now to write the same kind of article about the 20 to 30 generation, growing up, like about what they're doing wrong.
Right.
To Mark's way, it's cyclical, right? It's just
It seems counterproductive.
And I'm, like, of course, we're, at a certain age, and I more and more see, like young folks doing things that maybe I'm not quite fond of,
You
like
just want them to get off your lawn.
yeah.
That was one of them.
Stay out of my lawn.
One of the responses was old man shakes fist at kids to get off his lawn.
Get off my lawn.
It's basically what the title of this article should have been. That and we were talking about The Simpsons before the show to the folks listening. And so one of the posts in response was Abe Simpson was in one of the episodes, there was like a newspaper article in the Springfield Times or whatever that was like, old man shakes fist at cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what somebody's response was to this article.
Yeah.
One of them, to go to your point about student loans and all that, because we've definitely had a few conversations about that. One of the other responses was, I'll text during dinner to dull the pain of the working 45 hours a week and still not being able to save for retirement. Or I'll post selfies. I'll fill the internet with selfies to distract myself from the fact that I will never be able to afford a house or a car. # millennial pledge. So
I'm not saying that I'm coming out for selfies.
No.
But what I will say is that, that's exactly
I disagree.
right.
I think that's exactly what you've been saying this whole time. Brent Pierce, selfie master.
# Brent loves selfies.
For the record, # Brent hates selfies.
Nope, it's too late. It's trending. I just checked.
It's already, Mark,
sure.
Mark
I just
checked
checked.
the trending machine.
Oh.
So anyway, tonight is a big night as well for politics, the Democratic debate. Hillary versus Bernie versus a bunch of other guys.
Martin O'Malley, Jim Webb, Lincoln Chafee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
what I
exactly.
said.
Right. Who? Yeah.
And CNN has just been falling all over itself to try to lure Joe Biden to show up to this debate.
Yeah.
I think they posted on Twitter a photo of an empty podium. We've got a podium for you, Joe.
There it is. It's
in case you want to show up at the last minute, we'll let you debate.
Yeah.
So, are you looking for anything tonight in the debate?
I'm sure that I'll watch, but no, I'm not. I like to see the dynamic between. I think Hillary and Bernie Sanders will be interesting. I think that he has. What worries me, in trying to remain non-committal here, is that from the progressive perspective, he has basically cornered the narrative.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't want to, in the primary, like she may want to do in the general, run left, but she'll kind of have to.
Yeah.
I think tonight.
On some issues, at least.
The minute that he starts, talking about, Wall Street and, taxing, and she's either, the calculation would be, all right, either you play along or you take some stance that makes you look middle ground and waffly, because
I'm not sure where she can track to the left though on him. I mean, one of the things that I had read recently and looked up before the show was, one of her recent comments was on the Glass-Steagall, that she came out against that, which is the separation of in banking between commercial banking and investment banking, which I think which her husband, I mean, maybe that's part of it is
repealed in the 90s.
Yeah, he repealed in 99, but that's some folks will equate that to,
see, here's what
things that happened
worries.
in 2008.
If I'm a Hillary Clinton advisor, like stuff like Glass-Steagall and stuff like the Wall Street transaction tax, like those things are, like Hillary's known for a policy mind. She's known for getting in the weeds, but Bernie Sanders is known for, I'm the middle class advocate.
Right.
Wall Street, pardon my French. So like, if she gets too nuanced in policy and he's seen as the guy up there advocating for the working person, she might have, in our, as a wonky folks, like a better debate. But I'm telling you, people don't vote, or at least don't support with their brains exclusively. It has to appeal to them emotionally.
Right.
And I'm telling you, like, her biggest mistake would be to go to that debate and let Bernie talk about how he's been fighting for 30 years for the working class in this country. And then she'd dive into policy, which would actually equal his stance, but it's so nuanced that he emerges look at Donald Trump. Look at
sentimental favorite.
It's like,
it's a battle for sound bites for sure.
Sound bites,
and that would be better than in any policy discussion is going to be won, at least
if she comes out and says that before I entered public life, before my husband was elected president, I was the first woman in my law firm to become partner.
Right.
I was a child advocate pro bono for 10 years. If she comes out and says things about her record that, I mean, forget politics for a minute. I mean, she is a progressive politician. I mean, some folks want to dismiss that, but if she comes out and says, my history dictates that I will take up, like, the pledge of a progressive, working class advocate, then you can sort of not outflank Bernie, but you can Bernie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
and my point to interrupt you before was not to say she couldn't hang with him. It was more so I didn't on the banking side, on the finance side of things. That was one thing in particular that really rubbed me the wrong way. That I thought, I wonder where she can outflank him on the left.
Yeah.
On all these different issues. One, I think glaring obvious issue would be guns because I think that's one thing that's been well discussed is Bernie being from a more rural state,
libertarian almost.
Yeah, libertarian
state
rural
Vermont.
state that he's more, depends on how you want to phrase it. Pro Second Amendment. He's
more hands off, I guess. It's not one of Vermont's pet issues. Would be gun ownership. You know, it's not that they've ever had.
So that's certainly one that I'm sure she'll try to take advantage of if it gets brought up. But on the finance side of things, I think from my perspective, I think of the Clintons and I think of Wall Street. Like they've always been in bed with them.
Yeah.
And I don't see how they're ever going to stand up to some of those issues. And I could see Bernie taking her to task on some of that stuff.
Now, do you think, just coming from somebody that doesn't know as much or isn't as plugged in as you guys, is Bernie Sanders a threat to Hillary as far as the nomination? Because it seems inevitable that it's gonna be Hillary. Like just while you guys were talking, I did another.
It's early enough.
Search.
It's early enough to like not have a position on that, to be honest. But two things, like, so she's up in Iowa. He's up in New Hampshire. So those are, if that plays out the way
the
that
two first primary / caucus states.
Exactly. So if it plays out that way, you're going to split those, and then those that flows downhill, right? And so you can, South Carolina is up for grabs then. Nevada's up for grabs. At the same time, she holds a national lead amongst the likely Democratic voters by like 18, 19 points. So, and plus, like, there's some Super Tuesday firewall where she's poised to win like 8 of 9 states. So it's structurally she's fine. the same time, though, if if Bernie Sanders comes out, guns blazing, the working class advocate, the progressive candidate, look at Obama in 07, in 08. I mean,
Right.
she was also the prohibitive favorite, and Bernie Sanders is not Barack Obama by any means, not even close.
He's like
Hot take, breaking news.
Yeah.
Bernie
he's more like
Sanders is
Obama's
not
grandpa. Which
Right.
I feel like
He's
that's
Obama's
fine for me to say. 'cause
curmudgeon.
His grandpa was a white guy, so that
Great. Yeah, it could be. But no, I mean, I think at this point, if you wanted to hedge a bet, it would be that, Hillary would be the nominee. For me, it's more about who emerges, like, unscathed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to do any huge damage to each other. I think that's not in anybody's best interest. It's just, for entertainment purposes,
Yeah.
everyone's going to be talking about, who scored the most points and what kind of media coverage comes out of it.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked is because I did another
Odds search, yeah.
search, and the folks at sportsbook.com have Hillary as minus 400. So you need to
So,
bet 400 to win
Pretty
100.
close, right? Yeah, pretty.
And
Yeah.
Bernie's plus 600.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden is plus 600.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think, like, listen, you can't discount the fact that Bernie Sanders has attracted, like, 20+ thousand crowds,
Sure.
at
Massive crowds.
at
Larger
university
than
cities.
President Obama's crowds back in 2008.
Yeah. At the same time, like, if you look at polling, if you look at, Hillary, if not for this email constant drumming from the media, Hillary would be like the presumptive nominee almost without pushback.
Sure.
I think. So if, for her purposes, if this email stuff, if the investigation comes out to be a wash and it was just a silly kind of like witch hunt on the part of the House and Congress, then at that point, she's gonna move past the negative stuff, and I would assume dispatch of the burn,
the feel the burn crowd.
Sanders.
Yeah.
So my two
Speaking
cents.
of Congress, we've got
Actually, real quick, I just noticed that speaking of the presidential election, Donald Trump is going to be hosting Saturday Night Live in November.
in November.
Yeah, just
Is that
saw
just
that.
breaking news
just
now?
coming across
We're breaking
wire.
news all over the place
Yeah.
on this show. I
That's
can't
the
wait for that
is
episode
that like
then.
the first Saturday in November, right? Like
I think
the
it's
5th or
I
something.
think the 7th, maybe.
And speaking of Saturday Night Live,
Yeah.
Hillary,
Yeah.
made
Hillary
us,
did a cold open, and Trump's going to host.
wow. Speaking of Saturday Night Live, Hillary made
Yeah.
a surprise appearance a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
too, trying to be more human.
Val, the bartender. Did you guys see the skit?
Yeah.
Thought it was
I
funny
did.
actually.
She did all
Yeah.
right. I think
Yeah.
I always hear folks saying how she's, she really is a very nice person. If you meet her one-on-one, it's just,
Yeah.
there's so much more to her that no one ever, obviously she can't go around and meet everybody one-on-one. And so the public persona matters more, and it always just seems cold.
Well, yeah,
or-
during Amy Schumer's monologue this week on Saturday Night Live, part of it was talking about meeting Hillary and how it was cool and she was
pleasantly
personable.
surprised, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is always the response. Always the stories I hear is everyone's always pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, speaking of Congress, we've also got big news and battles going on over who's going to be the Speaker of the House after John Boehner leaves. That's between last week and today. We've had, Boehner step aside kind of a couple days before our last show, and then House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy was going to be his heir apparent, and he stepped aside. And then now we've got a lot of people talking about Paul Ryan, but then the conservative media has kind of gone after him. And so now it's just kind of a free-for-all, so I'm not really sure where this one's heading. There's definitely a lot of folks having some fun with it. As far,
I would say the one person in the room just like laughing, carrying on, having a glass of red wine, maybe a cigarette, would be John Boehner.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like
if I was John Boehner, I
Yeah.
would be enjoying this.
like
'cause-
the minute that he like, let's face it, he was holding this caucus together by threads.
Right.
And
Right.
so the minute that he decides to retire, which, he's at a point in his career where it makes perfect sense.
Right.
So it's not like it's some like abrupt, weird move to retire.
Yeah.
The minute he does, nobody believed him, right? Nobody
And-
believed that he was like, being the glue for this
Sure.
weirdly concocted, caucus. But the minute he says he's not, guess what? The whole thing falls apart.
Right.
So if I'm John Boehner, I'm saying, told you so. Having a cig,
Yeah.
and just tanning, doing what he does. But I'm telling you, Paul Ryan is wise to not seek that position
Sure.
because he is. Hey, I don't agree with him. He's Ayn Rand to the right of me on economics, but he is a moderate dude. I think, at least in persona and
Yeah.
demeanor. He does not want to be in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, the Freedom Caucus, the attacks from the right, no.
So
That's what I was going to say. That real quick. The Freedom Caucus's candidate is Daniel Webster from Florida. The other candidate that's more mainstream, although I don't even know that you could say that, is Jason Chaffetz. Who's running the. He was recently made waves when he kind of interrogated the CEO of Planned Parenthood. But anyway, that's who kind of Brent was referring
Yeah.
to.
no, I was just going to ask when you mentioned that the media ran Paul Ryan off. Like, why do they have a
Conservative
problem?
media.
But why are they trying to like not have?
Well-
what's the problem with this job?
So first of all, this is kind of, I don't know if this was a Machiavellian move on the part of President Obama, which I just thought of as we were discussing
it was
this.
ingenious. It was awesome.
He made a comment a couple days ago that he wouldn't mind. President Obama said he wouldn't
actually-
mind
yeah.
if Paul Ryan would be the speaker,
Yeah.
because he seems like a very reasonable guy.
Yeah.
And then
And far be it for to be called reasonable.
right.
And that, right, from
And so
Obama
obviously,
especially, right?
President
So-
Obama liking somebody
Right.
turns into, well, now
Well, he needs to do that
definitely
more
can't.
often then.
Yeah.
that's
That-
great.
Paul Ryan said, quote unquote, that I will only seek the speakership if I have buy-in from everyone.
If President Obama
I
takes
want
that
it to
back.
come from you, not me coming to you
Right.
for the
So
speakership.
that was the other thing. There was the President
Yeah.
Obama comment, and then Ryan
Yeah.
saying he wanted kind of a pledge from all the Republicans saying, you're going to follow me as speaker and
Yeah.
not fight me on every little thing.
Yeah.
And so the combination of those two and then a few other things I think that conservative media kind of took issue with him resulted in I think the last day or two some pushback, to say the least.
It'll be, to be honest with you, if I'm forecasting, I would say that Boehner stays on, like just.
I think that's what a lot of people
de
are saying.
facto
He'll stay
speaker
until-
through 16.
Yep.
And then after the election, somebody else will step in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to his credit, and again, not a Boehner fan, but he did this to make a point, right?
If
Which
he
was
did,
listen.
If he did, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Right?
Like, come on, John. We need you back. Come on.
But it was like, listen, you guys I have been attacked from all sides. Let me demonstrate to you what this job is actually like.
Right.
And then steps aside, and it's just
it's
like,
a huge risk, but if that's what the risk
Yeah.
he took, that'd be amazing.
I think it's his swan song, right? Kind of like I've been here since the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, let me demonstrate to you a day in the life of John Boehner. And then steps aside. And to be
Yeah.
honest, I think it winds up being him as like de facto interim speaker or whatever until after 16,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
get somebody else in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, and personally, I wanted to bring up this little article I found about the Walking Dead premiere from Sunday. I don't know. I think we've talked about this before. I don't think you're a huge fan, are you, Brent?
I've
Brent just
watched
doesn't
back
like
in the day.
America that
I
much.
like the show, but
Yeah.
I'm not like a episode by episode, fan.
Okay. Well, the season premiere of
Yeah.
season 6 of The Walking Dead was this past Sunday. And so AV Club gave it a B+. I'd say that's probably a fair grade. I probably would have been more like a B minus. But anyway, I
What
love
were the
this show.
drawbacks? Like, what would you?
So the show, the season premiere, the crew has found a new, like the group of people that we follow as part of the show. They found the new community, Alexandria, and anyway, Rick's trying to get the group to kind of.
Hey, spoilers.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I figure at this point you should have watched the premiere or not. But anyway, so trying to incorporate his group into this new community that they found. And anyway, they uncover a gigantic herd of zombies in this like quarry or whatever. And so they lead them away from the community through a pretty elaborate scheme. But I guess the point that a lot of people online, that loved this episode make is just how big it was. It was just such a grand episode. But my issue is that sure, yeah, they used more extras than they ever have, close to 1,000, to make the zombie horde or whatever, and then they use CGI for the rest. But I don't know. I just didn't have the same. I mean, that isn't enough for me. And the way in which they had.
Are you saying they sacrificed some of the human drama?
There was still human drama because they had a flashback sequence where they used black and white and all that. And I think Mark may have been a bigger fan than I. Not that you were a huge fan, but like I definitely just thought it was like they were trying too hard, and that the moments that were there, I didn't have the same. There wasn't the same emotional connection as maybe previous episodes where they had a better mix of action.
So you're saying like maybe too much focus on the whole grandiose, CGI and the thousands of versus the script and.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. This show's always been about, because it's cool to see a bunch of zombies get killed. Like, it got better when they started focusing more on story. Yeah. That made it a great show instead of just a fun show.
When I watched it for the first few seasons, to me it struck me more as like going to like class for sociology, versus a zombie show, because it was like the links you would go
that's when it
to survive really you know hard, what I mean, like like for real it was like
but
what,
sure.
And it made you almost cringe as humans not living in a zombified world, like what you would do to your fellow humans to make sure
at least make you ask
and your
questions.
family survive. So all right.
I don't know, it's a cool show about killing zombies, and if they can make it good in parallel, then it's great.
Then it's gravy.
Yeah,
it's gravy.
I always just look for more of a balance, and the balance that they came with the premiere on the action side, that was fine. That was great. The zombie horde was great, but on the more emotional story side with the black and white, it just felt like they were trying too hard. And then the moments that they had in character development. I don't know. I was just looking for something else. But, I mean, there are episodes in a show where they just need to progress the story.
I'll say, though,
they got to progress the story forward. Maybe
a show in the 6th season to get a B from critics is actually pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Like at what point do you wear out the premise?
Sure. And that's definitely what they're in the danger of doing. Well, that's it for this week, folks. We've got the Heartland Film Festival going on in Indianapolis this weekend. It starts on Friday, October 6th. Lewis Black's in town. Are you guys looking for anything particular this weekend?
This weekend will be, for me anyway, like all about
homecoming
voting stuff. Get out the vote.
GOTV.
Right? So there's a great election in town right now. Mayoral stuff, city council stuff. So right now the polls are open for early voting.
That's true. Yes.
So you can get out and do that. But
you can go down to the city county building and vote, folks, if you're registered.
Yeah. And I'll not be making my way down to Bloomington at 32. It sounds a little too strenuous for me, but go Hoosiers against Rutgers for homecoming.
Yep. Mark, anything you're looking forward to this weekend?
No, I'd imagine I'm going to be watching some baseball.
Yep. MLB Playoffs continue.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks a lot, everybody, for listening this week. Follow us at Flyover Live on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.com/FlyOverLive. Be sure to like our page. But anyways, thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.
Before
Cheers.
my eyes, better pray for peace. God, my kin, 'cause the thunderhead is rolling in.